Hello everyone and welcome. My name's Will and today I'm going to share with you 8 interesting facts about Argentina. So Argentina is the second largest country in South America after Brazil and has a population of 46 million and is characterized by a large diversity in landscape and climate, ranging from the very hot in the north to the very cold in the south. It is the most popular tourist destination in the whole of South America, and in 2019 it received over 7 million tourists from abroad. So let's have a look in more detail about this fascinating country. So the first interesting point about Argentina is that tango is its national dance. And like Argentina itself, it has its roots in European, Native American and African culture and is seen as a really important manifestation of the culture of the country. It's a very passionate and vital dance. It's seen as representing the Latino spirit. It's very romantic and passionate. There is often a strong connection between the two dancers when they're dancing together. The dance itself originated in the city of Buenos Aires, which is known as the home of tango, but it is also practiced throughout the country and in Uruguay. It is a traditional dance, and the women wear traditional dresses and the men often wear Italian-style suits and very elegant style clothing. The heyday of tango was in the 1940s when it became its most popular, but since then the dance itself has evolved and there are new forms now called nuevo tango and even neo tango, which incorporates modern and contemporary dance styles and music. So the second interesting point about Argentina is that they are the largest consumers of red meat in the world. So they eat more beef, pork and lamb than in any other country per capita, closely followed by its neighbour Uruguay to the east. The reason why meat, and especially beef, is so popular in the country is due to the high quality of the meat that they produce. And this is to do with the agriculture and the farming style that they use. Farmers tend to use fewer artificial products to feed their cattle, but also due to the fact that there is a very large area of flatlands in the centre of the country, known as Las Pampas, where the majority of the cattle is raised. This is a very good condition or situation for the cattle to grow up in a healthy way with a lot of large space to move around in. Going hand in hand with this, there is a very popular barbecue culture, and this is known as el asado. Most people in Argentina actually have a barbecue built into their garden in actual bricks. The meat itself is almost smoked from the ashes of the barbecue and never actually comes into contact with the flame, and therefore it is cooked more slowly and has a slightly smokier flavour to it. This is known as la parilla, which just means the grill, and it's a really important part of Argentinian culture to have a barbecue with your friends and your family, drinking some wine and enjoying the good weather. They also have a really delicious sauce that goes with it, and this is called chimichurri. This is an essential accompaniment to having meat in Argentina. And this is made up of olive oil, garlic, red wine vinegar, sometimes chili and parsley. This is an accompaniment that really brings out all of the flavours of the meat and is served either at home or in a restaurant or in a cafe. Anywhere you go in Argentina will have this. And it's not only on meat, they also put it on sandwiches, on bread, on chips. So it's widely served with meat and is the perfect accompaniment to bring out all the flavours of the beef. So the third interesting fact about Argentina is that it has the widest avenue in the world. This avenue is called Avenida 9 de Julio, or the 9th of July Avenue, and is situated in the centre of Buenos Aires. This is a main thoroughfare for the city. It is named after the Independence Day of Argentina, which was on that date in 1816 from the Spanish crown. It has 14 lanes in total, as well as extra lanes for heavy traffic. Also has a metro underground running underneath it on the line C, with important stations like Independencia. So the Avenida is a really important area of the city because it is not only very important for public transport, but also a place where demonstrations, protests, marches and political movements begin. They start on the Avenida and they end in the Plaza de Constitución, which is where the parliament is based. It's a really important, iconic place in the city. Also, it harbours the obelisk, which is one of the most famous landmarks in the whole of Buenos Aires. This commemorates the place where the Argentine flag was erected for the first time, and therefore is a very important place for the people of Argentina. Which brings me on to the next interesting fact about Argentina, which is it has the oldest underground train system in South America and the Southern Hemisphere. The Buenos Aires Underground is known as El Subte, which is short for subterráneos, or underground in Spanish. The initial line was opened in 1913 and has been providing travel and commuting facilities for the city of Buenos Aires ever since. There are 6 lines in total, the lines A to H. There is a tram line and an electric line that connects to it as well. El Subte serves 1.3 million commuters every day who are getting to work, and there are 104 stations across the city in total. El Subte is an iconic part of the city of Buenos Aires and has featured in many films and documentaries about the city. Many of the stations now harbour public works of art and is therefore seen as a cultural space for the city itself. So the 5th interesting fact about Argentina is that it has the largest waterfall system in the world, namely the Iguazú Falls. The Iguazú Falls is over 3 kilometers long and contains 275 waterfalls in total. The largest and most famous one is known as Devil's Throat, or La Garganta del Diablo. It lies on the border with Brazil. 80% of the falls are on the Argentinian side in the state of Misiones, and 20% are on the Brazilian side on the state of Paraná. You can easily cross between the borders of the two countries to look at the falls from different perspectives. The word Iguazú actually is of Guarani origin and comes from Huasau, meaning big, and I, meaning water. The falls mark the confluence between the Paraná and Iguazú rivers, and it is one of the most important points in the whole of South America because it is a confluence of these two enormous rivers and is a place of outstanding natural beauty for the region. But it also demonstrates how important the river systems are in South America and how much water there is in that continent itself. So the 6th interesting point about Argentina is that it has a very strong influence from Italy and the Italian culture. Clearly, the country itself was colonized by the Spanish from the 16th century onwards, so its national language is Spanish, but in the 19th and 20th century, Argentina received large amounts of immigrants from Italy, so hundreds of thousands of people emigrated to start a new life. It is now estimated that over 60% of people in Argentina have some Italian ancestry, and this is roughly about 25 million people in the country, so it has a very strong influence. You can even see this in some of the language that they use, especially in the capital city, Buenos Aires. There's a type of slang known as Lunfardo, and is very heavily influenced by the Italian language. So, for example, the word el pibe, meaning boy or young man, is connected to the word pivello in Italian, meaning young person. They also use the word la mattina, instead of la mañana, la birra instead of la cerveza. Another example would be the verb laburare, which is connected to lavorare instead of trabajar in Spanish. The language of Argentina itself, which is known as Español Rioplatense, has been heavily influenced by Italian. And this type of slang, Lunfardo, is actually understood throughout the whole of Argentina and not just in Buenos Aires, but is a really important symbol of how the Italian language has affected the way that they speak. In other ways, you can see an Italian influence also. Italian food is extremely popular, so they eat a lot of pizza, pasta, risottos, and if you go to one avenue in Buenos Aires, known as the Corrientes Avenue, then this is full of Italian-style pizzerias and is a really famous place. So the seventh interesting fact about Argentina is that Che Guevara, who is known for taking part in the Cuban Revolution, was in fact Argentinian. He was from the city of Rosario in the interior of the country. Che Guevara took part in the attack on Cuba that took place in 1956 with Fidel and Raúl Castro, and this was the beginning of the Cuban Revolution to overthrow the Batista government, who had become a de facto puppet government for the Americans. Che Guevara is a very important person in Cuban history, but it is less well known that he was from Argentina. He became very well known for being someone who could rally troops and inspire people, and also lead skirmishes and military attacks. Che Guevara's portrait has now become a very important image that symbolizes counterculture, revolution, the idea of Marxism and socialism in general, but also the idea of the underdog and somebody with the odds stacked against them. So you see his portrait on t-shirts, on flags, on caps, especially in South America. He has become an iconic hero, an iconic person who represents the fight for justice and fairness. However, he does remain a controversial figure due to the amount of warfare that he waged and the amount of extreme violence that he perpetrated. So Che Guevara died in 1967 at the age of 39 in Bolivia, and he was executed by a firing range. And famously, before he died, he said to the man who was going to shoot him, "Calm yourself and aim well. You are about to kill a man." So, the eighth interesting point about Argentina is that it has the highest and lowest points in all of the Americas. The highest of these points being Mount Aconcagua, and the lowest being the Laguna del Carbon. Mount Aconcagua is the highest mountain in the whole of this region, and it is situated in the Andes Mountains, very close to the border with Chile. It stands at 6,960 meters high. Many people from all over the world come to climb this mountain to look at the incredible geology that exists. And the mountain itself also harbours some very important and ancient glaciers that are very important for the climate. The first person to scale this mountain was a Swiss man called Matthias Zurbriggen in 1897. Now it has become a centre point for climbers and mountaineers from all over the world who want to reach the summit of this important mountain. In contrast to this, the Laguna del Carbon is the lowest point in all of the Americas and is actually 107 meters below sea level. It's a salt lake at the base of a very large drainage basin called San Julian. This is an important site also because many fossils have been found, and therefore paleontologists regularly access this site. But the area at the lowest point itself, the Laguna de Carbon, despite being an important centre, is not open to the public, and therefore it is not a well-known place. The country itself is a fascinating place with a really interesting diversity of landscapes. So interesting mountains, glaciers, flat plains, beaches, and enormous cities as well. So the variety that it offers is really fantastic. It is a place that is well worth visiting. If you're interested in seeing what Buenos Aires, the capital city, is like, I will put a link to a video of that now. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate your time, and adios.